It's my habit to walk every day. Most days I walk around 5 to 7 kilometers. Now that I'm in Japan, I plan to keep up the pace. I don't like to carry around anything when I go, so I leave my wallet and even my phone so I can be in the moment. The only thing I have is my smartwatch, which tracks my distance and calories burned. To avoid the sunburn, I decided to walk at night. I left my apartment and walked towards the closest station and hopped on the Yamanote line towards Yoyogi Eki. Eki means station, and I've been making sure I don't forget it, so when I do eventually get lost, I can at least find a station by asking someone, "Eki wa doko desu ka?" which means where is the station. The train was crowded, but I was lucky to get the last open seat. I made sure it wasn't one of the priority seats for older, pregnant, disabled people, or people with small children. The seats are called Yusen Seki. And as I took my seat, I wondered if I would be in Japan long enough to be eligible to sit in the Yusen Seki. I'm only halfway through Japanese from Zero Book 1, but hopefully way before I qualify to sit in the Yusen Seki, I'll be fluent in Japanese, or at least done with Book 1. As the train began to move on its never-ending loop around Tokyo, I noticed an elderly man precariously balancing with a cane against the forward momentum. The Yusen Seki were already filled with people that looked very qualified to be sitting in them, especially the lady that must have been pregnant with triplets and in her 40th week of pregnancy. I was the closest to the man, so I stood up and gestured to him that he could take my seat. But despite my gesture, he didn't move from his position. I'm not sure if he even saw my gesture, so I mustered up my Japanese courage and said, "Dozo," which I was told means go ahead. His eyes brightened slightly, so I'm sure he heard me, and he nodded to me, then sat down saying, "Arigatou gozaimashita." I was told most people don't say welcome, even in uber polite Japan, but since my Japanese was limited, I decided to use everything I had and said, "Do itashimashite." He smiled and rested his cane next to him and pointed to me saying, "Doko no kuni no kata desu ka?" The only words I understood were doko and desu ka. I wasn't sure what kuni no kata meant. I think he could tell by my expression that I didn't understand. He surprised me with some English next. "You, what country?" "Ah, doko no kuni must be what country." I'm not sure what no kata meant, but his English was good enough that I was sure he must be asking me what my nationality was. I scanned my brain and remembered that I just add jin to the country name for nationality. I then said, "Amerikajin desu," which means I'm American. He seemed happy with this response and said, "Oh, America." I nodded and he asked, "Nihon ga suki desu ka?" I had only been in Japan for 2 days and I didn't know how to tell him that, and I wasn't sure even if I liked or disliked Japan. A teacher of mine told me to focus on what I can say, not what I want to say. So I answered with, "Hai, daisuki desu," which means, yes, I really like it. Then I decided to ask him a question back, just to keep it friendly. I asked, "Amerika ga suki desu ka?" He nodded and showed me a big thumbs up. He said, "America is economic animal." I wasn't expecting this answer, but it was funny, so I laughed and he joined me in the laugh. The announcement on the train announced, "Tsugi no eki wa Shibuya, Shibuya desu." And the old man grabbed his cane and pulled on the bars to stand. He nodded at me and said, "Orimasu," and walked off the train. Shibuya was just 2 stations away from Yoyogi. I looked around and made sure there were no other people that were qualified to sit in the Yusen Seki and took my seat when I saw no one. 2 stops later, I walked off, and after asking a few Japanese people, "Yoyogi koen wa doko desu ka?" I tapped my smartwatch's outdoor walk icon and began my first walk in Japan.